Hey Believers, this is SuperZombGBBQ and today we need to talk about SuperCard. Why? Because there's a lot of people not very happy at the moment because of tier pulls. Now I'm going to explain, if you are new to the game or alternatively you don't know what tier pulls are, I'll explain it all in just a moment. I'm going to get out of the way the normal stuff. If you like what you see, like, subscribe, turn notifications on. That stuff's out of the way because we are going to talk in depth about this situation that it seems, I hate to say this, but I think Cat Daddy got themselves into. We're going to talk about the fact that they have changed pull rates from Season 4 to Season 5. And this is just one hot mess. So a pull is when you get a card off of the board. So if you've not seen my most recent video, then I apologise for spoiling this to you. But I pulled this gold dust off the board. That is a neon pull. You get the golden shining animation that comes from it, and then the card turns around and you've got yourself a pull. If you grab yourself another card that's not in your tier, then it's classed, and an enhancement, just to clarify, any neon enhancements are included in that because they're not actually counting as pulls. That counts as a reset. So you can get yourself 10 resets, 12 resets, 50 resets, 100 resets, 120, 200, 300. Now the amount of resets you need to guarantee a tier pull is at a certain amount. SuperCard and Cat Daddy have never actually come out and said what these tier numbers are for how many resets you need to grab yourself one of your tiered cards off the board. So they've always made it out that if it comes early, then great. If it's not early, then and you get it at a certain time, you're going to be guaranteed it, so you're not going to be waiting forever to get yourself a neon tier, shattered tier, or gothic tier card. The problem is that's changed drastically from Season 4 to Season 5. Now when you start off in a tier, so let's just say you get to Gothic tier and you get your freebie. The moment you get your freebie, that counter starts. You go all the way up to X amount. Now if you're in regular Gothic tier, you will get an amount, I think it's been like 350 resets in Season 5. So every time you reset the board, you will grab yourself a reset. So you can tally that up on certain Android and iPhone applications, so you can keep a tally of how many resets you're doing before you get yourself a pull off of the board for your tier. You go up to Gothic Plus, that number reduces, and Plus Plus reduces even further. Now in Season 4, if you were in Plus Plus, it was a rough figure of 120 resets to grab yourself a pull off of the board, regardless of what game mode you were in. Back in Season 3, that was very different. It was much higher. It was brought down in Season 4 to accommodate for, I'm assuming, I don't know, gameplay reasons, I don't know. But either way, it made the game a little bit easier, maybe too easy. Which is probably the reason it's been changed. And I'm just going to go out there and say now, I agree with what they've done. Maybe not to the extent of what they've done, but the idea that it's harder to progress, to get up to the top, you're going to basically have to empty your wallets or play really, really hard. I totally get it. The fact is that the next tier that's going to be coming out is going to be WrestleMania, and that is 5 months away. 4 or 5 months away. So if that is the case, they don't want you guys or anyone to just be getting pulls left, right, and centre. So I can understand the strategy behind it. It's the whole reason why the Money in the Bank rewards are neon this tier. And if you want my honest opinion, I think the next one is only going to include one shattered, but will include a neon female, which will help people get up to shattered tier or get to neon tier. But that's just my opinion. I can see that happening. Here comes the problem, and this is a big problem because of Cat Daddy's questionable communication that's been handled regarding this issue has completely blown the whole thing out. It's made a mountain, not even a mountain, we're talking like the Alps, out of a small anthill, okay? That's what it's done. It's taken this small problem that could have been managed and made it so much worse. And I'm going to tell you why they've made it worse. Most games, when they change things, have a change log. For example, WWE 2K19, every single time that a patch comes out for that, they put a change log in. They say what's changed, what hasn't changed, any balance issues. I can give you another example, Clash Royale, FIFA as well. They have a balance update where they talk about the game balance and why they're changing certain things. Now, SuperCard have never really done this. They talk about some of the nice things that have changed, and they make, it really obvious that those are like the things they're really focusing on, which you can understand to an extent. The problem is they never mentioned this. Elimination Chamber, you may have noticed if you played it this week, that the animations are completely changed, and for me, I think that's one of the best parts about Season 5. Other than the Fusion Chamber, because I just love the fact that the Fusion Chamber has got two or three additional fusions at the same time. It's great. It makes my life so much easier, and I'm already getting closer to having loads of SummerSlam 18 fusions, which I love. So this isn't all bad. They don't just ignore all the bad stuff, they sometimes ignore the good stuff. Some of the changes to ring domination they've ignored as well. But because they haven't mentioned it up front and they've not told people about it, and to the extent they've increased the resets, they have inadvertently pissed off quite a lot of the community. And I mean, they've really pissed people off, because there are a lot of people out there who are really unhappy with this. And the thing is that the WWE SuperCard community is very, very passionate. I mean, you don't want to annoy these people, because if you try to annoy these people, they will respond very, very harshly to any big changes they don't like. In fact, some of the biggest changes to the game have had to be reversed. The Fusion Chamber has been a long requested item. The animations on tier pools, all these things had to either be brought back or be changed because of the community's feedback. To sum it up, if they had just announced that this is going to be changing, then this whole thing would have been so much easier to deal with. But because they didn't, they opened themselves up to a lot of criticism. Although it's not confirmed because we don't have the numbers, it looks like the resets required to get yourself a pull have doubled. If not 50% more, 75% more resets than you needed beforehand. But the worst thing that's happened is on Twitter. And oh boy, this could be handled so much better. And I'm going to go out there and say this now. The actual Twitter account, the person running that, isn't to blame for any of this. They just have to say it's their job to pass on the information that comes from Cat Daddy themselves. I doubt they would have posted anything that they weren't allowed to post, because that probably would be deleted or taken down. But their first response was almost dismissive, as if the community didn't know the way that the game worked. And the thing is, even if that wasn't the intention, the fact is, that's how it's come across. And I have to agree with the community on this one, because it does come across like they are saying the numbers you've got are wrong. I've been playing the whole of Season 4, and I can tell you categorically that those numbers are right, and they've been changed. So as a result of that, people were understandably very frustrated, very annoyed, felt they were being talked down to, which I'm sure wasn't the intention from the start. But despite initially disagreeing with the community and the people who knew how this game worked inside and out, they've now admitted on Twitter that it has changed. And that has landed them in a big spot of bother. Now, like I said, I agree with the changes to an extent. I agree that they want to extend the game's lifespan. They don't want people to immediately jump up to the top tiers unless you're willing to part way with some serious coin. But at the same time, that has to be handled with care, because there are a lot of free players in this game. And you don't want to piss those guys off. Those are the people who cover the majority of the community. They don't want to have to spend money to get to the top tier or just be stuck in the doldrums forever. And it does come down to, again, communication. And if the communication had been better, this situation could have been completely avoided. If it was admitted from the start that this had been changed in some kind of patch note, in some way. It's like saying, you've ordered something from the main menu, you've asked yourself for, I don't know, a burger, chips, and salad, and they take the salad away and give you coleslaw. You didn't ask for coleslaw, but they gave you coleslaw because they thought, hey, you know, we think you'd like this, but you wanted the salad. You're thinking, but no, I want what I ordered. And they're saying, well, tough, you're going to have to accept it. It's the guys in the SummerSlam 18, the Gothic, and the Neon tiers who are going to be really, really annoyed with this. And I don't see any other way of solving this issue than putting things back to where they were. And that sucks because if done right, that could have been a good change. It could have been a way to increase people wanting to play the game. And we know the reason why they've done this as well. This isn't just for new tier stuff, it's to make people want to play the game more than just getting themselves their tier pool. It's to make people do multiple cards and ring domination. It's to make people go for the heroic events. It's to make people want to push harder or spend money to get themselves packs, to get themselves up the tier, to spend contracts and money in the bank, to get them in the end what they needed. It's a free game. They've got microtransactions. They're going to want people to buy those. It's just business. But the only way I can sum this up is that Cat Daddy have shot themselves straight in the foot, which sucks, but it's an all too often occurring problem within this game, and I wish it wasn't a problem. Now, people aren't going to shut up until it's done, and that's going to be on weeks and months and months and months. And the thing is, I don't blame them. In their situation, I think there needs to be changed now, and honestly, I think the whole thing needs to be changed back, but I don't work for them. You guys know, the smart ones know I don't work for them. So I'm just giving my point of view and the facts. And that is, communication was awful. Denying the obvious truth, also awful. Then accepting it as the truth and actually saying to people they've got to get used to it, also not good. Whilst I also think on the other side, the reaction to it has been really, really bad sometimes. There's been a lot of nasty stuff posted about it. But I can't really say that anything else. Because as much as people have a voice, they also have ears, they have eyes. They want to hear. They want communication. And if you avoid that by just going down the road of, hey, here's these changes, accept them, and we're not going to talk about them, we're just going to let you play the game and find out for yourselves, that sucks. Now, I had this video recorded on Saturday, but I decided to give it a little bit more time to see if Cat Daddy would respond, and we did get a response from them on Twitter. And simply put, some are going to like this and some aren't. I'm definitely in the middle. In Season 4, there was something going on with tier resets in Plus and Plus Plus for top tiers. We ended up fortuitously addressing it in Season 5. Since then, you've tweaked Plus and Plus Plus rates in Season 5 to get more in line with what you were used to in Season 4. At the same time, we need to press on with our designers' original intents are carried through this season. Thus, we've made changes to what can be described as game feel. Season 5 progression is indeed a little different. They say they were mystified by players' various reports, resets hitting 300 plus, not receiving any tier cards, Season 4 resets being way lower than expected, and probed deeper. After further research, we looked into last year's setup and figured out what players were talking about. In one sense, we simply misunderstood what the actual issue was. Players weren't really describing a problem in Season 5, which is what we thought was happening. Instead, players were talking about an issue with how the game felt in comparison. It's within this lens that we hope you understand why our communication seemed off. We do apologise for frustrations and any bad feels. We all love WWE SuperCard and the community you have built. We appreciate the feedback and will continue to listen and do our best to look into any issues you have. We hope that this clears things up and as always appreciate that you're playing. Now, I don't want to be the kind of person that just picks a negative, so I'm going to pick out the positives of this first. And then we're going to talk about where it goes wrong. First of all, the good things, they've accepted and acknowledged that the communication was completely screwed up. They apologized for it, and that's cool. They've also explained why it seemed so off, why there was a disjointed communication between one side saying there's a problem and the other side saying, well, actually, we can see it. And based on Season 5, there's no problem at all. The medium is what this post basically says, which is, this is how it's going to be going forward. And this is how our designers and producers intended for this to be. We've already made enough changes, so suck it up. But the one part that really sticks out to me, which is going to be taken quite badly, I can see it now. We were mystified by players' various reports and probed deeper. After further research, we looked into last year's setup and figured out what players were talking about. Now I'm sure, like I've said beforehand, this wasn't the intention, but it comes across that they don't know what the reset issue was in Season 4. What? How? Surely, just going out there, they would have known that this was a problem and it was going to cause a little bit of controversy. Why not just own up and just say, we changed it because we want the progression to be more like Season 3. Suck it up. Cool. This statement effectively says, hey, we didn't really know what was wrong in Season 4, but we've now found it and fixed it. Even though it was actually better, and loads of people are complaining about it. Give them credit. They did come out with an apology, and it does state that they own up to the communication problems. They owned up to where the confusion was, and that's awesome. However, I said earlier on that people are not going to let this go. And people aren't going to let this go. People are not going to be satisfied now unless it's amended back to roughly what Season 4 was. But I hope that this has given a big wake-up call. The communication needs to be better. That there needs to be a patch note or some kind of communication when big things change in the game. The other thing to mention is how they can improve this for the player base. If this is not going to change, and the way it's coming across is they don't want to change it, I've got ideas of how they could make this situation so much better going forward. The kind of things they could do to win, I don't want to say trust back, but kind of keep people happy. First thing that would get people straight back on side is removing support pulls as part of your tier pull. So if you was to pull a shattered support and you're in shattered tier, it doesn't affect the reset you're building up for your pity pull, regardless of when it hits. Also then a slight increase into how often the supports drop, because they are very, very difficult to get in packs, and there is no other way other than putting them off the board and opening packs to obtain those supports. These would then act like enhancements do, where once you've received one, it doesn't count as your tier pull. And I think that would go a long way to making this situation work and building a bridge. Communication is something I've already said, and that is just make sure it's better. Patch notes, something that updates people on where the game is going in terms of balance. Also to make it possible to obtain cards throughout the game other than events. King of the Rings have needed to change forever and are a huge pain in the backside. So changing those back to the original system, or making it easier for people to progress in King of the Rings, alternatively just making it so you can actually play throughout a day instead of having to wake up early in the morning the next day to charge your cards, would be a great start. Otherwise, improving team battleground pulls for the current tier. But the biggest thing that I can suggest is just making the game easier for free players to obtain cards in their tier. Whether it's decreasing the reset amounts needed to grab your tier pull in Gothic, or making it more like you get an early pull and then increasing that slightly in Neon, and then moving forward to like the top tier, Shattered for example, or WrestleMania tier, whatever it is, and then making that the highest required reset amount in game. So it increases the difficulty of continuous progression for the guys who are at the top, but allows an easier progression for people who are playing for free or have limited funds to put into packs, bouts, and can't dedicate themselves to events. Thank you so much for watching. I want to know what your comments are in the comment section below. Discuss this freely. But I will say this. If you want this kind of thing fixed, you have to act. No amount of complaining is going to get things solved. Then it's down to you guys. All I can do is make videos like this, be honest about my opinions, tell you as it is, and make suggestions if Cat Daddy or 2K ask for it. That's as far as I can go. But if you do want it changed, I'd suggest maybe starting up some kind of hashtag fix polls on Twitter. I've given you my opinion on it, and hopefully something does change for the better. I think it's going to have to. But I've been SuperZombGBBQ. You, as always, have been awesome. Thank you so much for watching this. Like this video if you liked what you saw. Subscribe to the channel and turn your notifications on for more SuperCard videos. Yeah, I'm just going to end it there.